Mrs. Gayheart?
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular scheduled school board meeting Wednesday, October 4th. If we could, Mr. Philo, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Browning?
Here?
Mr. McCourt?
Here.
Ms. Landon?
Here.
Mrs. Malad?
Here.
Mr. Steininger?
Here.
Okay, if we could stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think a lot of people know we lost Roy Toby on Sunday. Roy was a longtime teacher and coach in Fairborn. And if we could, I'd like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. If I could get a motion for approval of the agenda as presented in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Philo?
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Steininger?
Yay.
Ms. Landon?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes, motion carries. Next is approval of the minutes from the Thursday, September 7th regular meeting. Again, if I could get a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Philo?
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Ms. Landon?
Yes.
Mr. Steininger?
Yay.
Mr. Browning?
Yes, motion carries. Next is board reports, good of the order. We could start with Wendy.
Sure. Thank you. We'd like to thank you to Fairborn High School ASL teacher, Michelle Lee, for sharing photos of her ASL students learning about and celebrating Sign Language Awareness Week. Students decorated the sidewalks at Fairborn High School to create awareness. Also, our Fairborn High School AFJR Junior ROTC participated in air camp activities with Beaver Creek High School. The Air Force Junior ROTC and Bellbrook Air Force Junior ROTC learned about flight. Cadets were able to learn to fly with simulators and actually flying in a plane. So great work to our Fairborn High School Air Force Junior ROTC. Thank you.
Katie?
So I believe we recently had a National Custodians Day, and there's a special shout out today for our Fairborn City Schools custodians and groundskeepers who keep everything looking so nice around here. We truly appreciate all of your hard work to keep our facilities clean, safe, and looking great. Also, it is Principal Appreciation Month. So we'll be recognizing our building leaders throughout the month. I believe today's Facebook post highlighted the high school principals. Mm-hmm. Their leadership in our buildings is key to our school district success and helping to build high-quality educational environments and supports for both students and staff. And continue to watch for those highlights on our social media pages. Thank you.
Okay, Pat?
Join Fairborn City Schools at the Fairborn Memorial Stadium as we celebrate and honor the end of an era. On Friday, October 13th, former football players, cheerleaders, band members, track teams, coaches are all invited and welcome to attend. There'll be a tent set up in the end zone, special events throughout the evening, so be sure to join us for the last game of the season at Memorial Stadium festivities, and that will begin around 5 o'clock with walkthroughs at Baker, and food will be available following the tour. Big night, I think Baker was probably built in '53, so do the math, and that's about 70 years as I see it. But it's going to be a big night for our last night there at the stadium. So thank you.
Tim?
Yes. House Bill 583 of the 134th General Assembly designated October as School Safety Month in Ohio to increase public awareness of school safety programs and to encourage Ohioans to identify their role in keeping Ohio schools a safe place for our students to learn and grow. Also, keeping in mind the safety theme, when technology and security solutions fail, trusted relationships save the day. And creating an environment in our school where students feel comfortable sharing their concerns is essential to maintaining a public safety environment. For both the physical and emotional standpoint, students need to feel they can trust school staff, staff need to feel that they can trust their administration, and the administrators need to feel they can trust their community, support them. This month, we will focus on building stronger relationships, positive school climate, information sharing, and how relationships can make a huge difference when it comes to our safety. Thank you.
Okay. The first thing I wanted to comment about was the new high school. If people are driving by there and looking at the progress, it almost seems like daily. You go by and they're getting the landscaping in now, they're planting trees, planting bushes. There's asphalt coming soon, right, Jeff? I think in a couple weeks, asphalt? Yeah. So it's just exciting to see that. And, you know, inside, obviously, the same kind of things are going on. And I just wanted to thank everybody that's involved with that, the construction company, Jeff, you know, for his effort in terms of leading the project. Next was the band competition. A couple Saturdays ago, went to Lebanon to watch the marching band. And, you know, the band is down a little bit this year. That's really COVID-related in terms of the numbers dropping. But it looks like the middle school will bring that back up as those kids come to the high school. But they did great. They got second overall, second in their class, and they got best auxiliary and best visual. So for the first competition of the year, it was pretty exciting. The football team a couple weeks ago played Xenia, which is a rivalry game for us, and there's a trophy, you know, that goes back and forth between us and Xenia. And that was one of the more exciting football games that I've been to in a while, and they pulled out a hard-fought win, so congratulations to them. And then just lastly, Pat and I went up to St. Henry to the visitation for Roy Toby, talked to his family a little bit, and wanted to pay respects. And, you know, when you look at the pictures that they had on display, it's pretty obvious the impact that he had on Fairborn kids while he was here as a teacher and as a coach. So it was good going up there. So that's it.
Jerry, if I can add to
Go ahead.
that, at the visitation we just came from, as Jerry mentioned, inside the casket was a Skyhawk hat.
Mhm.
So, thank you.
Yep. Next would be the school district presentations. Mr. Lawley? Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr.
Mr.
President,
Philo.
President, we don't not have any visitors signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you. So next is school district presentations. Mr. Lawley?
Okay, we recently received our state report card from this past school year, and here tonight is Dr. Brackenhoff to give us an update in where we stand on our state report cards.
The clicker.
And the board see that okay?
Yes. Does she have a microphone?
You want a microphone, Sue?
It's vibrating.
Microphone, or Emily will yell at you.
Third hand.
Yeah. We can hold it for you.
In your board packet on the left-hand side, I put some resources that we have created as part of our continuing effort to improve. And so one is a little flyer about chronic absenteeism. And we count absenteeism in two different systems. And this tells you the difference between the two. And then our district leadership team has started creating a one-page summary newsletter that we're going to start that informs all of our stakeholders, both inside our district as well as out, the things that we are focusing on in our leadership team. And then the last, and this is available for anyone who is interested, it's on ODE's webpage. It is Ohio School Report Cards, How to Understand Them. It is multiple pages, 16 pages to be exact, on understanding the state report card. So we're going to try and chip away at that. And let's see, today was our third building leadership team meeting, our second building leadership team meeting, where we take the building data and we dig down with our staff leaders at each building so they can look at it from their perspective, and then they lead their staff in this journey. So just a reminder, and this is from our current interim superintendent of public instruction, that our report cards are a snapshot of progress and achievement, the challenges that we have at this point in time, and it is not the end of the journey, but helps us along the way. So just to understand the star ratings. So this is the first year that districts have gotten an overall star rating. And our district star rating was 3.5 stars. And if you will look, 3 stars means you meet state standards in academic achievement. And so we're between 3 and 4, 4 being exceed state standards in academic achievement. And then the math part on the left-hand side means we have greater than or equal to 70, but less than 80% of the maximum score. So that's all of the pieces of the report card. That's how they figure out the star rating. Each of the components are given stars, so we have 5 component areas. Each of those component areas you can earn up to 5 stars in. So they rate components, and then they do a combined total for the district. We had 15 out of 25 stars, again giving us an overall star rating of 3.5. And as we look at similar districts, the state determines that. It changes a little each year, and it's not just based on academics, it's a variety of factors, the size of the district, actually square mileage, the socioeconomic status of the district. And out of the 21 districts, our district had an overall rating of 5. So now let's look at the parts. These are called components. The first component is achievement, and this recognizes student performance on the actual state test. And we had a 3-star rating, which means we met the state standards in that area. Progress is the next component, and that looks at the growth of students from where they were to the current year. So based on what their past performance is. If a student was a second grade student, and that was consistently their past performance, we would look to see growth of 1 year and be at a 3rd grade level. Well, not all students are on grade level. Some are below, some are above, and we're trying to grow all of those students. So in that area, we received 5 stars, which again, significant evidence that the district exceeds student growth measures. Gap closing is probably one of the most complicated areas, as we'll see in a few minutes. And it looks at the subgroups of the students that we serve. And it includes several components. We had 4 stars this year. Last year, you'll see a 5 over there in the bottom right. We had 5 stars this year, and the only area that we had a decrease in score was our graduation rate, and I'll explain why that is such. So again, we still exceed the state standards in closing the gap. And then our last was graduation rate. We had 2 stars. Last year we had 3 stars. Again, a 2-star indicates we need support. We think we understand how the math is done, and so I'm sure that we will see an improvement as we move forward. Early literacy is looks at reading achievement in K through 3, and we had 2 stars in that. Again, that's an area we need support. Early literacy and graduation are similar in that they both look at past performance, not just last year, but past performance, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. We're making progress, but we haven't moved up the star rating yet. And college, career, workforce, and military readiness, they are reporting components of that, but this is an area that they are still building. They're adding some things. They're not really sure how they're going to calculate how districts are doing. So it says no report, so you don't get any stars, but they do tell you of the things they've identified, here's how your district is doing. So we'll take a look at some of these. So again, if we look at similar districts, Fairborn, out of the 21, we're number 5. And we've highlighted those that are geographically close to us, West Carrollton, Mad River, Xenia. And so on our overall component rating, we are doing a little bit better than some of our neighbors. And then again, out of similar groups in that top 5. So the achievement component. Again, this is how our students do on our state test. One of the things that we've already discovered as we've been reviewing the data is that this past year, we had more students that did not take the test than we've had in the past. And that is probably related to chronic absenteeism. When a student doesn't take the test, not only do you get a 0 as far as towards our growth measure, it calculates a 0 in the numerator, and then that student is counted in the denominator. So to raise a 0 up, it's kind of like trying to raise an F to an A. You got to have several A's to move that needle. So this is what our achievement component looks like. These are all of the tests, and I think we give about 6,000 tests in our district between all the grade levels and subject areas, and it breaks it down into proficiency level. So our basic students, when they, I'll start with limited. Our limited students, every student that scores limited on the test, that test counts as 0.3. Our basic, 0.6, proficient, 1.0, our accelerated 1.1, advanced 1.2, and then they added a category advanced plus is 1.3. And we have a lot of students who have accelerated either in subject areas, such as our 8th graders who take algebra. We have students that have grade advance. We're looking for other opportunities to add to that because, again, that 1.3 certainly helps us a lot more than that 0.3 of our limited students. So this measure is determined by mathematically, again, assigning that point value to every test that is taken, which gave us 78.79 for our performance index. Excuse me, this is the third hour of data because I just was at Baker, so. Then that 78 is divided by the 108.791, which gives us a percentage of 72.4 and earned us the 3 points. Now it's interesting that that 108 is there. If you look at this little indicator here, it says 120. It used to be that 120 was the top score, and but no longer is that true. That 108 is derived from, they look at the top 2% of high-performing districts. So the districts that have the highest performance index, they are averaged together, and that determines what our highest is, which is 108, versus in the past it used to be 120. So we look at our growth over time. We kind of tried to go back to pre-COVID years. And green in our far right column, this is reading on the left. The chart on the right is Ohio. I looked at this at first and I thought, why did we put that needle or immunization? And then I thought, oh yes, that was COVID year. And we wanted to remember that was COVID year. So as you can see in reading, most of our results reflect the growth that the state has, except for our ELA2. the state was at 61. Our students were at 59. So this represents 60% in third grade of our third graders passed reading, 72% of our fifth graders, 62 seventh, 55 eighth graders. And again, looking at the previous year and trying to recover from our years with COVID. Then in the area of math, similar, you'll see that the state had increases all the way across, and we had increases everywhere except with our sixth grade this year. So an opportunity looking at, okay, why did we see that drop when we know what the cohort group did the previous year? Remember, with achievement, we're always reporting year to year and comparing them, but we need to remember they're never the same students. So each year, we have a different group of students. So our performance index comparison puts us a little bit above the middle, around the middle, compared to the 21 similar groups. The next component is gap closing, and this is the one I said gets very complicated. Excuse me. How many things can you measure under one component? So I'll try and point them out. First is gifted performance index. It's an all or none. You either get 0 points or 5 points. Gifted progress, which is the growth of our gifted students, we got 5 out of 5. Gifted identification and service, we also got 5 out of 5. And I know meeting in the buildings, you know, Sarah Fulton is wonderful as our coordinator of gifted. And she's also wonderful at helping train the teachers who do the work in the classrooms and write those WEPs that count as service. So just identifying kids, which Sarah does, and we do it through our iReady testing, is only one small component of that. What goes on in the classrooms with our students and our teachers really are the important part. Our graduation rate, we have 1 out of 7, thank you, because I've touched something and now I can't get rid of it. Our chronic absenteeism. This is the first year this is being measured, and we were a little worried last year based on what our district chronic absenteeism rate was, but we got 5 out of 5 points in this area because of the growth that we've made. Our English language learners, I think that one is, somebody can help. Thank you. 5 out of 5 on that. In our math achievement, we have 5 out of a possible 9 points. English, 7 out of 9 points. Math progress, 2 out of 8 points. Again, that's an increase. That's why there's a little plus from last year. And our ELA progress, 4 out of 8 points. So each of these areas has its own little data set that tells you how those are created. We could be here all night, so I'm not going to dig down into those. A couple of them we'll talk about in a few minutes, which is chronic absenteeism. And our achievement and our progress points, you've seen the overall whole through our achievement and progress components. In this area, what it's looking at is, are we growing all of our students? So it doesn't just look at all Fairborn students. It looks at each of our ethnic groups. It looks at our students with disabilities. And our goal is to grow each of those subgroups. So when it says in achievement, 9 possible points, it means we have 9 different subgroups that we are trying to have, make sure we show growth in order to earn those points. Similar district, now we're at chronic absenteeism. And in this last year, we were at 47.7. 47.7% of our kids were deemed chronically absent. We have reduced that this year to 34.9. And you will see that this is one of those bar graphs that it's better to be on that end than this end. It's opposite of the achievement part. So we are about in the middle and making some progress. Some of our surrounding districts, some comments we've had in the other buildings. The one question that continues to come up is, how do we count certain students? So we'll certainly reach out to those and see if they know something that can benefit us and help us. But the fact that we reduced our chronic absenteeism rate, we again earned those 5 points. So that's our goal, is to continue to reduce it, because we know if students are in school, they have a better chance of success. So this, I'm showing you as a deep dive, but you're not going to have to do the diving. This is what we do at the building level. And each month, our building leadership teams, they add their data from their building. Well, actually, we pull that from our reporting. And they, each building gets a report that tells how their building is doing towards chronic absenteeism. It tells them how many students are in the severe category, the moderate, at risk, and satisfactory. And we track that really twice a month, at their leadership team meeting, and then again at our district leadership team meeting. We're looking at this data, trying to come up with solutions to help get more kids in school. And let me back up this. In addition to just the summary data, so the report that we showed Baker today was as of yesterday. The principals also have the ability, each of these categories, they can click, it will actually tell them the names of each of the students. And so again, we're looking for ways that we can connect with those kids and increase the likelihood of them attending school. So that's something that, as part of our leadership team, and questioning, okay, how do we do this? What does, when you're just looking at a big number, how do you approach that? Well, we approach it down at the student level through this data collection. Our progress component, again, is looking at growth based on past performance. And as we indicated, we have 4 stars in that area. And out of the 21 similar districts, Fairborn is number 2, right under the top rating one, Steubenville, which had 13 points. We had 11 in progress in this area. Graduation rate. The next 2 are the ones that kind of bend your mind a little, because it was the 22-23 report card. It comes out in the fall of 23. But the 23 report card, the 4-year graduation rate is looking at the class of 2022. The 5-year graduation rate, which is weighted 0.4, is looking at the class of 2021. So 2 years back, reported on the 23 report card. This year, 2 stars. What hurt us was the 4-year graduation rate, 87.5. Now, does that mean that, almost 13% of our kids dropped out or did not graduate? It means that some of them didn't, but it also could mean that we have students that were 9th graders with us that moved somewhere. If they move out of state, out of country, don't tell us, they count as a dropout for us. So one of the things I know the high school is really working on is trying to make sure we track down all students that leave us after they start with us as 9th graders. Next year, on the 2024 report card, we can already predict what we're going to see. The 4-year graduation rate, unless there's any small tweaks in EMIS, the class of 2023 will be 91.2%. The class of 22, just as we saw before, had 90.7%. So we should have 3 stars next year with a total of 91.2. So again, in this particular area, this part of the report card is already predicted by the graduating class of 2023, even though that report card will be the 24 report card. Then we can scroll down to the 25 report card, and the 4-year graduation rate, the 5-year rate, we don't know what that will be, but we're constantly looking at multiple years and trying to make sure we understand why these things are happening that we can control. And, part of it is supporting students in meeting graduation requirements, which are continually changing. And some of it, again, are things beyond our control, which is students that leave the district that we are not able to track. Early literacy is another rear view mirror kind of report. So we have 2 stars in early literacy, and our total is higher than last year, although our stars isn't. You have to have over 58% to move up to 3 stars, and we're not there yet. But I will point out in 2018, we were at 48.4%, and in 2022, we are at 60.5%. Let me see if I have this. Nope. Okay. So how does it really work? We give the diagnostic in the fall of 2021. This is for this year's data. We give a second diagnostic in the fall of 22. And then the report card is called 22-23, but it's reporting growth that occurred during the 21-22 school year. So we already have an idea of where we're going as far as our future report cards. Portions of it are already determined by the testing that we just completed. So what are we doing in that area? And I brought this as a sample. This is not the report card, but it shows what our teachers are doing and how we're combining the talents of lots of people. So this past week, we have been meeting in the mornings with K-3 teachers. And each of the teachers, now these are not real student names, as you can see, Bridget Jones, Buffy Summers, Jack Sparrow, so no student names. But each teacher gets a list of their students from the previous year so they could look at how they had performed once they leave them. And for this year, they get a list of their current students, the score they got on our iReady assessment, and whether that score is on track or not on track. That's what we report to the state. And from any student that's not on track, our teachers write a reading improvement plan. More data. This is what our teachers are seeing and using on a regular basis. So this would be, again, a sample of what a report might look like. The teachers are writing those reading improvement plans for all students who are not on track. But one thing that, again, our iReady testing that we've been able to add and have as part of our conversation this year is how much progress did the student make over the past year? We look at growth as typical growth is they've made 1 year of progress. And in using iReady terms, stretch growth means they've made more than 1 year of progress. The message that we have to make sure we understand is if students are behind, 1 year of growth is not going to get them back on track. We have to continue to make more than 1 year of growth. And so that's why it's important that we understand the data, that we're using it on an ongoing basis, not just once a year for our district report card, but we're using that to make instructional decisions, and that the intervention we're providing for our students is evidence-based, and that we're looking for that growth. So, similar districts in early literacy, we're kind of in the middle of that group. Certainly not where we want to be, but we have to take our students where they come to us and continue to grow them as they move through our school system. That's the end of the data part, the scored part, but I thought there's an interesting profile that they also include in our data, which just shows student opportunities, the kind of things that we have for our students. And the reason I thought, okay, this is interesting, 2 areas, similar districts are providing more opportunities than us. One of them is our advanced coursework. What are we doing in that? Our high school is looking at alternate pathways. In tonight's agenda, we have before you approving one of the pathways which students can use to earn an associate's degree. So we're looking for opportunities to provide advanced coursework for our students. So that one, some of the other districts, we were at 4.7, they're at 7.5. The other area, which I was kind of surprised, was world language. And this, we are at 12.7%, and the similar districts were at 16. We offer 2 different languages, and those are highly enrolled classes. We have lots of kids in them. So just an interesting. But in other areas, such as co-curricular percentage, we are, providing more opportunities for our students. CTE enrollment, again, more opportunities for our students than our comparative districts. Enrichment, and also in physical education. So I thought that was interesting, just looking at opportunities we have for kids. And then for us as educators, it's opportunities for us to ask, how can we create more opportunities for advanced coursework and for foreign language? That kind of completes what our district report card looks like. So again, in a nutshell, 3.5 stars, well on our way to 4 stars, and lots of data to confirm that our teachers are working hard and they're making progress with our students, but we still have opportunities for more growth. So, any questions?
Excellent, thank you.
All
Good
right.
presentation,
Dr.
thank you.
Brackenhoff,
Yes,
one
sir.
question. The grade, or the letter grade of the past and the number grade of the now, do you see any advantage in that, or is there any logic to that, or? I know it's a state, but.
They keep changing it. If you have a 5-letter grading system and a 5-star system, what does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very similar. But a good question.
Thank you, Dr. Brackenhoff. Good evening, everyone. And the next presentation has to do with the vision of the Fairborn City Schools. It was a roadmap. And 5 years ago, when the board hired me and they hired Kevin and I came in at the same time. It's hard to believe, but 5 years have passed. Soon after we hired in, we took 4 different groups, I believe, and we did them separately at the board office. And we looked, as that says there, a vision, a roadmap to new and improved schools for the Fairborn City Schools. And there were 3 major areas that we looked at, and that was inside the walls, and outside the walls. And what's interesting with the 4 groups that we did separately at the board office, the list that you're going to see tonight that we talked about and how to improve and what direction we wanted to move for our school system, doing each group separately, all 4 groups mirrored one another with what they would like to see. I thought that was very, very ironic. And as I said, the groups that we consulted was first the central office staff. That was your directors, myself, treasurer's office. Then we did building and staff, both certified and classified. Then we had a Saturday work session, I believe. We took the board members on a Saturday morning for a couple hours. And then we did the administrative team across the district, your building principals, assistant principals. Inside the walls, in January of 2019, and what you see listed here is what the various groups came up with and what they wanted to see. They wanted more equitable elementary music, and we have added more music in this district. It was went by the wayside for a few years, did it not, Dr. Brackenhoff? I can't remember how many years, but it was a few. More substitutes. We have hired more substitutes. We still need more, but we have more, and we did up the pay for substitutes depending on what degree that you had. Oops, let me back up, sorry. More teacher time on instruction, and we did that. We're doing that through professional development. That was very important to our teachers and administrators. Student field trips went by the wayside, and we reinstated those field trips for our kids. And then in August of 2019, we continued to add professional development. That was huge to our teachers and, as I said, to our administrators. Elementary art went back into the curriculum. That was by the wayside for a while. We added middle school Spanish, high school second foreign language. When I was the high school principal here, I believe it was the French teacher retired, and the administration at that time decided to cut French out. So we went a few years with only one foreign language, and that was Spanish. But over time, we added and brought back in American Sign Language to make up for that. And that has been a smash hit. I mean, that has been a very, very successful program. We implemented new K-6 ELA curriculum, and Dr. Brackenhoff has mentioned some of these things in the report card, and I think that's why you are seeing an increase in our test scores. We still have work to do. That is always, I want to be clear about that. It's going to be work in progress as we move along from year to year. We added a reading recovery teacher. We added an additional high school ELA teacher. We implemented and added 2 literacy coaches, curriculum coaches. We put in a full-time SRO at the high school over time. We have a behavioral consultant, and we have added a lot of mental health support. As you know, in the COVID era, mental health and coming back to school, in and out of school, mental health was a huge issue, not only in the Fairborn City schools, across this country. And let me add here, adding these positions was part of the ESSER money that was made available to us. In August of 2020, we continued with additional professional development that our teachers get from time to time. Again, another additional literacy coach, and we continued to add some mental health support in all of our buildings. The walls. And this is what I think is truly amazing, what we as a district and community have accomplished. And keep in mind, a lot of this, we did it through COVID. That's the amazing thing through this. In November of 2016, the first bond issue was passed for the new primary and intermediate school. In the spring of 2018, we broke ground for that new primary school. And then in August of 2020, we opened up that new primary school. And that's hard to believe. Next year, I believe, will be the 4th year in that building. How time flies. And then in August of 2020, work on the intermediate began. Continue with the walls. We surveyed, through Fallon Group, we surveyed the community about a new high school and athletic and performing arts facilities. And then in November of 20, we put that bond issue on. That was the second bond issue. Well, let me back up. Yeah, in November of 20, we passed the bond issue for the new high school. And then in June of 2021, we broke ground on the high school. It's been hard to believe, but 2 years now. And that will be completed in August of 24. And then in August of 22, the intermediate opened up. I skipped that there, sorry about that. Outside the walls. One of the things that came up is building a new culture here in the school system, and that was from new facilities to classroom to doing a lot of things to create a new and positive culture. A lot of people want to see an improved grade card, and I think you're starting to see that as we move along here. Improved instruction and learning was listed. Staff and community access to state-of-the-art facilities, and I think we've accomplished that at the intermediate and the primary, where our community can go into those buildings and use those on an as-needed basis. And they wanted to see an investment in the Fairborn City Schools with higher property values, and in the next section of this presentation, I think Mr. Fowler will be talking about that. With that, I will introduce our treasurer. He's got to go over some financial things over the last few years, and then he will turn it back over to me, and I'm going to cover some more things that we do in our daily operations throughout our district in our buildings. With that, Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Lally. In terms of when we talked about 5 years ago, we sent some benchmarks. We wanted to talk about accountability, transparency, and value. And so we wanted easy to understand financial data for the public and the staff. We wanted benchmarks for comparison to prove value. We wanted solid short and long-range financial projections, precise financial planning to avoid emergency and large voter requests, and also involvement. So I want to show you some of the highlights over the last 5 years. We started in July 1, 2018 with approximately $25.3 million in our general fund. Over those 5 years, we've taken in $440 million. That's all funds. We've spent $436 million over those 5 years. And as of July 1, 2023, we have an ending cash of $36.1 million. That is the general fund and leftover ESSER money. So we've increased our balances over that time. In terms of tax levies, we passed the renewal substitute levy in May of 2021. That brings in roughly $5 million a year for 20 plus years, total of over $100 million. We passed the bond PI levy in November 2020, as Mr. Lally said, for the new high school. That brought in $78.3 million. We passed the bond levy in May of 2023 for another $24.6 million. And we've positioned the district for the next levy, a smaller levy in the near future, not large requests. In terms of labor relations, we negotiated two different contracts with 3 different associations. We're getting ready to do a third session here this fall. We had dramatic increases in starting salaries to be more competitive. That was a targeted thing that we wanted to do to attract more people. And we had above average overall increases in salaries for all of our employees. Other financial, we created a Citizen Financial Review Committee. We've decreased student fees by 50%. We maximized our bond returns as best we could at low interest rates. We increased Fairborn Schools' financial communication. In terms of private donations, we got $3.75 million worth in total of private donations and another $500,000 in corporate donations. We have highly accurate short and long-term financial projections, numerous state and national financial reporting awards, and the thing that really I'm most proud of is in terms of the increased property values. In terms of, as I talked to Rotary today, the increase in property values in Fairborn was highest in Greene County, higher than Beaver Creek, higher than Bellbrook, and our community saw an increase in value of $408 million. We've had 5 years of strong, stable finances. It's been over 16 years since we've had a new operating levy. That was in 2022 2007, and we positioned the district for at least another 5 years of strong, stable finances. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Mr. Philo. I have to thank our entire staff. Everything that we put up here and that we've done over the last 5 years is through a lot of hard work, a lot of input. I have to thank this board for supporting the programs that we have implemented over the years. So it's taken everybody working together to make all this happen. It just doesn't happen in a vacuum at the board office. A lot of input goes into all this. In addition to what all the groups got together and suggested and gave their input and how to improve the school, there are a lot of things that go on day-to-day operation-wise that I'd like to just run down, just take a moment or two and let you know exactly what else we've done besides some of the things that you saw up here. And let's talk a moment about in the classified area. That's your support services, your maintenance, your bus drivers, transportation, et cetera, custodians, secretaries, just supporting building administrators and freeing up some of their time with attendance letters. House Bill 410 changed a lot of things in the way we do attendance. And a lot of the letters have to go out to parents in a certain amount of time to let them know if they are missing a certain amount of school. So we now have better support in the buildings and freeing up some secretaries to be able to do that. Supporting transportation with additional contract sub-aides, additional mechanic that we added to help at the transportation office. We've added new transportation software which helps streamline routes to be more efficient as we try to, as I said, become more efficient to get students to school and on time. Additional secretary we added at the transportation office. Well, a lot of times that secretary had their CDL. Well, we just added a secretary there that doesn't have their CDL and adds much more support, more consistently at the transportation offices. Supporting food services, which is so important. We contracted sub who can float now and go to building that helps make us more efficient in that area. So there's a number of things that we have done in the classified area that I could go on and on and on. In the area of communications, in Mrs. Gayhart's area, in partnership with the Director of Safety and Security, grants. A lot more grants have been written by Mrs. Gayhart, working with, as I said, our Director of Safety and Security, Mr. Titley. In partnership, again, with the Director of Curriculum Instruction, much needed grant money in that area has been added. Mrs. Gayhart working with partnership with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to secure military life counselors to support our military families here in the Fairborn City Schools. So we have done a lot grant-wise here in the last couple years to help in those areas. In the area of business, Mr. Senior moment there, Mr. Patrick. In the area of business, they've done a lot there, not only building buildings and construction. Wow, what goes on there every day. One of the things I'm proud of that we were able to do with the support of the board is that we took Wright Elementary and made that into a food pantry. And it's very important that we are supporting, that the Fairborn City Schools is supporting our school in a positive fashion. 5 Point School abated and demolished. As you can see, if you go by there, it's an open field now, and we're in phase 3B of that project. Palmer South was abated and demolished. At transportation, We have new blacktop for the buses over there. New women's restroom. If you ever went into there, wow, that's an old building. And we just recently updated the men's and women's restroom. And along with changing that whole area, the new ceiling and floor tile through a lot of that building there. Black Lane Digital Academy, that building is still in use over there, and we did transition that away from the Fairborn Digital Academy. As you're well aware, and we mentioned more than on one occasion, and rightfully so, the land that was bought for the new high school was through an alumni donation. Mr. Helms provided the $2.3 million to buy those 86 acres. Along with that, the money that he also donated for technology, 1-to-1. He did that even before donating the money for the land. As I say, we were able to do 1-to-1 technology for our students. So that has really been a shot in the arm for this district and saved our taxpayers a lot of money, that we were able to put other things in our new buildings towards something else. Stadium press box and grandstand repairs were made at Baker over the last few years. That was not in great shape, but we had to do some things there that we did. Soccer field, new irrigation, new drainage, new light poles and fixtures, and did a lot of reseeding there, and those fields are looking phenomenal. At the current high school, what you see here, you know, you got to keep these buildings over the years. And there's roof repairs, new chillers, and plumbing repairs. So the list goes on and on and on in order to run a school system. A lot of people don't realize what you do on a daily basis. So I encourage anybody, and I've said this more than once, if you ever want to shadow an educator, let me know. I think it's a real eye-opener on a day-to-day basis. So with that, that's really, even though I took some time, that's really just a small snapshot of what goes in our district. And again, I can't thank our staff enough for everything they've done and the support that the board has given us over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Excellent.
Will we be doing another 5-year? Yeah, will we do another visioning?
No.
No, like,
No, she's talking about the next vision for the next 5 years. Yeah. Awesome. Tim, did you want to say?
No, just,
Okay.
I think, what he's highlighted is we like, has some say, a city emotion, a community emotion. I think we're now a school district emotion as well. Done a great job for everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is budget and finance. There's 2 items on here, basically the monthly financial report and the revised spending plan. If I could get a motion in a second, and then we could open up any questions or comments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Philo, any comments on these items?
The attached monthly financial report speaks for itself. The revised spending plan, we approved that, the original one last month. I found a couple small typos on it, so I had to
Okay.
revise that.
Sounds
So,
good.
But the numbers still at the end stay the same.
Good. Okay. Could you call roll, please?
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Mr. Steininger,
Yay.
Ms. Landon,
Yes.
Mrs. Malad,
yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes, motion carries. Next is administrative reports and superintendent recommendations. And if you follow, it actually goes back to the middle of page 12. So if we could get a motion in a second, then any comments?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Yes, if I could just comment here, Mr. Browning, on page 11, you're going to be asked to approve the change in the district master plan with the Ohio Facility Construction Committee to remove the scopes of work for the abatement and demolition of Wright and Black Lane. The reason I have requested that and to keep those buildings instead of tearing those down is that leaves our options open in case we have an increase in enrollment here in the near future, that we do have a place to possibly put in some classrooms. The cost to operate those buildings on a yearly basis is very minimal.
Right.
So it's not that much of a cost at all to the district.
And just as a comment, Gene talked earlier about the fish pantry, the food pantry, that's in what was Wright Elementary, so that's a very important building to keep. So, okay. Mr. Philo?
Ms. Landon,
Yes.
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. Steininger,
Yay.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is a work session. Is there a work session tonight?
Mr. President, we don't have anything scheduled for work session.
Okay. So then do we go to executive session?
So executive session, I'd ask for a motion to move into executive session for the specified purpose of negotiations.
Okay. Can we get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Mr. Philo?
Ms. Landon,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. Steininger,
Yay.
Mr. Browning.
Yes. Motion carries. We're now in executive session.
Board will go into executive session afterwards. No action is anticipated except adjourning the meeting. We'll take a 5-minute break here.